guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 188. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about my painting, modeling, and working experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 videos a week. How could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, Games Workshop showed off what the new Kill Team starter set is going to be for Kill Team 2 or 3 or whatever Kill Team we're on now, and I have been playing the spit out of Age of Sigmar Spearhead. I have some thoughts. And one of those thoughts is EonsOfBattle.com. EonsOfBattle.com is the place to find our new merch like the Nick and Jay dice. The Jay dice have been rolling pretty hot lately, and actually I haven't been rolling the Nick dice, but he has. I guess he's been doing fine. Also on our website is the best way to support us doing what we do with a membership. Each month, members will get a credit that they can use on our new monthly terrain pack or any previous pack we have ever made. For the month of October, we have expanded on our orc terrain with the Orc Rocket Factory. Fill your game boards with the ramshackle walls and a grizzly gate with an explosive flare. Man the battlements of an orc's weapon workshop absolutely dripping with bombs, rockets, and pointy missiles. This modular terrain is fully compatible with our previous orc brewery and the Octeris terrain and can be assembled in all sorts of shapes ready to detonate at a moment's notice. Kill Team is one of the best games created by Games Workshop, although it's kind of had a rocky history. It started off really strong with Octeris, which came with beautiful orc terrain, and it came with the orc commandos and the Krieg. And the Krieg have taken over Games Workshop. Every single Imperial Guard player has Krieg. Krieg are kind of the best in terms of rules right now, so everyone is playing with Krieg. I've faced a lot of Acadians that were proxied as Kriegers. And the Orc Commandos are also pretty cool, and in proper 40k, actually they just got a points decrease, making them even that much better. But that's big 40k. In Kill Team, there's always been pretty decent starter sets. The Kill Team boxes have been not hit or miss, they've always been pretty darn good, but they've had really bad availability. I got most of the early Kill Team boxes. I think I got every single Kill Team box until I guess Kill Team 3rd season, the one that was on the boats, or not the boats, they were on they were out at sea on mining rigs. Those ones are fine. But with new Kill Team, there is now a Kill Team starter set. And this one is really good, depending on how much it costs. I mean, I guess that's kind of all Games Workshop products, but this one in particular. What is really interesting about this is it comes with the Space Marines versus the Death Guard, but they used the Space Marine Heroes Series 1 and 2. For anyone unfamiliar with Space Marine Heroes, they're Games Workshop blind bag, or I guess blind boxes. Usually they'd be on by the cash register at Warhammer stores, or sometimes friendly local game stores would have them too. And you would just get a little box and you'd open it up and you'd see what you get. Series 1 was all just regular, I don't know, there's been 4 series now, I think. Because Series 1 was regular old tactical Space Marines, but they were the best tactical Space Marines. They were a little bit taller than any previous Space Marine, but not quite Primaris in height, but getting pretty darn close. Those were really cool. And then Series 2 was Death Guard. And Death Guard from Games Workshop are some of the most beautiful miniatures they have ever made. The availability for these things wasn't great in America, but everywhere else you seem to be able to get them pretty easily. And they all came with one super rare, or you just couldn't really get them. I think you could get them if you bought the entire set as a bundle, but they had the heroes. There was Space Marine Captain with Plasma Pistol and Power Fist, which was a really in-demand model. Not incredibly in demand because Games Workshop does sell a Captain with Power Fist and Plasma Pistol, but on the Death Guard side, there was a Plaguecaster, and the Plaguecaster model is incredible. It's also really nice because if you want to properly run Death Guard Party Bus, which is 2 Plaguecasters with a squad of Death Guard in a Rhino, using the firing deck 2 of the Rhino to fire, I think if you pop the special ability, once per turn you can fire 4d6 ignores cover torrent plague shots. It's amazing. Arguably probably too expensive for the points, but you have to do it. A Rhino scooting around the battlefield, literally vomiting death on your opponents. It's really good, but the Death Guard are very monopose, and so it's kind of lame to buy the exact same Plaguecaster twice. So with this model, you could get 2 very unique and distinct Plaguecasters, but especially in America, you couldn't get it. I know some people eBayed it from Japan and probably spent a ton of money and are probably a little bit peeved that it just comes in this set. I think that's kind of dumb. I mean, if you let yourself get scalped on eBay, that's just your prerogative. It's your choice. I fully appreciate that model now comes in this set, which hopefully is really, really cheap. If this set is like $100 or maybe just a little bit more, what was the old starter set? It was around 100. It was probably more than 100, but this set, I'm hoping that Games Workshop keeps the price down on this set because it comes with terrain, but I believe for the first time in Games Workshop's history, it comes with MDF terrain, medium density fiberboard, but it is also printed, so it looks okay. It doesn't come with real terrain, but real terrain from Games Workshop always incredibly inflates the price of things. It is very nice, but really what you need to play is just something and the models. And the models should be really, really good, and they are, because there's from Space Marine Heroes, the Space Marine Hero series models. And the terrain can, you can play with solo cups and phone books and VHS tapes and just whatever you need to actually get the game going. So if the MDF terrain means that this set is cheap, that is really, really good. I'm a little nervous for Kill Team because Games Workshop has upped the price of Kill Team by a lot, but only in a mean way. Space Marine Scouts and Space Marine Mandrakes are 80 bones. It's too much. That is entirely too much. And then and also weirdly, Mandrakes and Space Marine Scouts, it's just the 40k sprues. There's no extra Kill Teamy bits inside of it. But if you buy one of those Kill Teams, that comes with the Kill Teamy bits, like the Tau Pathfinders or the Hearthkin Warriors, you actually do get an extra sprue of Kill Team goodies to splash out on your guys and make them look cooler. Those old boxes, same price. They're exactly the same price they used to be in old Kill Team versus new Kill Team. But if you want the Scouts, which come with nothing extra, I guess they come with the cardboard tokens, but tokens aren't worth $15. $80 is ridiculous. And it would also be really ridiculous if Space Marine Scouts with tokens are $80, but just getting the Kill Team starter set, which comes with 2 full teams, is like $100. It wouldn't make any sense, but I really hope they do it that way because Kill Team is a really good game. It's not 40k. It is not baby 40k to help you get your first few games in before you upgrade to proper 40k. It is its own unique game, which is pretty darn good and decently balanced. I know balance is always balance is usually a thing that's like really, really bad in Games Workshop games, but pretty good everywhere else. I think that's a little bit of a fib because I've played most miniature war games. Balance always is kind of all over the place, but I've been thinking of balance a lot lately. I have been super getting into Age of Sigmar Spearhead, where you play with just the Spearhead or Vanguard boxes, and you just pit them against each other, and it's really, really good. And it does feel pretty darn balanced. But after playing 30 or 40 games, playing with and against almost every faction in the game, there's definitely, some matchups and some teams do feel a little different to play against. And in theory, in a perfect game, everything is completely balanced. No matter what you're playing with and what you're playing against, you're going to have a really, really good game. In Spearhead, it's really easy to keep track of those games because you can score 3 on primary, 3 on secondary, and up to a maximum of 3 on twists. So a perfect game is actually still pretty low scoring. The one team that does seem a little bit busted is Slaves to Darkness. By the way, Sean plays Slaves to Darkness. And that team is just really, really good because it's an Alpha Strike army. Its whole deal is try to get turn 1. If you get turn 1, charge in and just wreck your opponent. And if your opponent, which is often me, no longer has models going into the game is kind of over. Not as much fun, especially in Spearhead, where it's a game about going and standing places and doing actions, and you're always trying to get around the board and get max out on points and get your secondary objectives and being sneaky, and it's really, really good. I really like in Spearhead compared to like big 40k, and I haven't gotten a chance to play proper Age of Sigmar, although I've heard very good things about Age of Sigmar 4th edition. But usually Games Workshop games are incredibly killy. Kind of to the point where the game starts to break down a little bit, especially in 40k. Shooting is so wickedly powerful, and close combat is also really wickedly powerful, where usually if you shoot at something, you're gonna kill something. And if you charge and fight something, you're gonna destroy whatever you charged and fought. In Spearhead though, since the boxes are predetermined, like what you're taking is predetermined, there's a lot of slug matches where two squads like meet in the middle to fight, and then you just fight back and forth, killing guys here and there over the course of the game. And that's kind of what a battle should be. It should be a fight. It should be a slug match where you're like, maybe I do decide to fall back to try to get that objective because there's just nothing happening here in this fight other than me losing a couple of guys. Like that is, in my opinion, what makes a game really, really fun is getting to play with your toys. And when you don't get to play with your toys, like when you get turn 1 charged and your tree lord goes down instantly before you've actually started the game starts to not feel that fun. Now, in terms of balance, balance is a really tricky thing in war games, especially since the games take a long time. Spearhead, about an hour. It can definitely take a little bit longer, especially if you have two really large teams going up against one another, but two smaller teams, around 10 to 15 models aside, you can get that game done in pretty close to an hour. For some of the Spearheads with like 30 some minis in the box, it takes a little bit longer just physically to move the models and to make everything happen. But in every game I've played, even games that were like perfect, like X-Wing 2015 was the greatest game of all time. I played hundreds of games of X-Wing. We never really worried that much about balance because most of the time, me and my buddies, we would switch it up every single time just to play with all of the different ships and to like get reps in. And so like I would want to bring like Maslati, or I would bring Bosk or IG-88. Like I played the Bounty Hunters, but like Sean would always play Sunterfell, an Imperial Ace, and Howler Runner, the objectively best mathematical ships in the game. So Sean would usually win, but the games didn't take that long, so getting absolutely annihilated didn't feel as bad. Where like big humongous games like 40K, where if things are looking dire, like turn 1 and 2, but you've still got 2 hours in this game, it can start to feel a little bit more like a slog. But that doesn't mean that every game should be incredibly quick. Like army games should take a long time. And I guess 10th edition does a really good job of the game doesn't take the entire day. I remember 6th edition and 7th edition and 8th edition, games did take a very, very long time. And weirdly, Games Workshop didn't used to care about balance back then. There were armies that were just cracked for years, and there were armies that were sucked. Black Templar for years, but it didn't feel like that big a deal. Where now, Necron Monolith goes up 20 points. I think it went up more than that, but it went up 20 points and people are like, the sky is falling. Necron Hypercrypt Legion is over. And I think it just comes from more and more people are actually playing 40K, so you get a lot more voices. And I think it is good that Games Workshop is kind of pulling those levers, even if they did nerf Black Templar quite a bit. All my characters went up in my Crusader squads. Even the old Crusader squad, the old squatty Space Marine Crusader squad did go up a fair bit in points, which is a little bit poopy. Another interesting thing about Games Workshop's balance is I kind of bet most people don't care. Periodically, Games Workshop will post a updated version of the points lists. How many people are actually checking that? I bet a fair number of players are actually just going with the points in the codexes because there are points listed in the codexes, but competitive players don't even look at those because they're incorrect. But those are probably actually the real rule, like the real points values if you actually asked most people, because the FAQ for Warhammer 40K 10th edition is up to 40 pages. I've read it twice and I still barely know what's in there. But who's actually checking that to make sure that their games are absolutely precisely balanced? I don't know. It's interesting. There's kind of two worlds. There's competitive 40K and then there's real 40K that people are actually playing. And I would love to know. Let me know in the comments below, how do you play 40K? Do you worry at all about balance? I think the only time it ever crept up back in the Dizzy, when I was playing games in high school and early in college, when it was just, if Sean was winning too hard, we would track down the FAQ and the erratas and stuff, and just to double check them and make sure it's oh no, you actually can't do that. But other than that, it was just plunk down the minis, make them walk towards each other, and just fight until we all get bored and watch YouTube. So I don't know, balance is a really interesting thing in tabletop war games because they don't have the precise perfection of video games where they have instant data of thousands upon thousands of players and every possible bit of information about the games. They kind of only have win-loss, and that's about it. I guess also, and the list. Maybe. Depends on what kind of a tournament situation you're playing in, but that might be the only information they have to go on. And so that's what they're using to balance the game. Does that work? Howler Runner was OP for like 8 months and then it didn't even get nerfed. The game ended. So I don't know. I don't know how you perfectly balance a war game. And I don't even know if a perfectly balanced war game would even be that much fun. But Spearhead is a really, really fun game, as long as I'm not going up against Sean's Slaves to Darkness. Thanks for watching.